The great commandment in the law. Matthew 22 verses 36 to 40, KJV. Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
So people who talk against empathy, one of the things that people who will respond to them is Matthew's 22 verse, I think it's 37, without truly reading what Matthew's 23, 36 through 40, which is Jesus Christ literally saying what is the highest law, what is literally among all the prophets, is the highest of all of them. That is the highest. And what this is calling on is really empathy. Because whenever Christianity has done something truly wrong in history, or accepted something that was truly wrong, it was because it did not possess empathy. Now, I know if you are not Christian, you're a little whatever, that's fine. If you're dealing with this from a non-religious position, what Jesus Christ is literally saying, you should listen to, and I will tell you from a non-religious position what this is. So, again, it's Master, which is the greatest commandment of all the laws. In other words, this person, it's always I like to say, is he's wanting Christ to give him the skinny. What's the highest? What's it? What's the greatest commandment? I'm a busy man. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Just tell me the basic. When Jesus looks at him and says, okay, fine, I'm going to give it to you. Jesus said to him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. That's it. That's the skinny. Now, other versions added one other line, to love thyself as you love thy God. A little bit more modern. So it's literally love God with everything you can, and then love your neighbor as exactly that same way. That is the highest of all laws. That's Jesus telling you that, you get that, that's it. That's what you're supposed to do. Everything else is kind of secondary to that. And why? Because in a non-religious position, it is accepting that you are supposed to listen to people with passion and love and intelligence, and to love people as though the words they speak to you are coming from God himself. Because it is true that you will find in life that sometimes you hear things from other people that truly touch you, that move you, that inspire you, that change your life. You hear a song that's like, wow, I get it. That's what he's saying. Because sometimes the greatest wisdom of life doesn't necessarily come from the Bible. It comes from someone else. The greatest things that can change your life is from learning the lessons of others, by being open to change. The provisions that came later on, which added for you to love thyself as God, In part, maybe it was so that people would identify themselves. But this is the highest law. So when people disagree with this position, just remind them, no, you don't understand. Jesus literally said that on these two commandments hang all the laws and the prophets. All the law and all the prophets. The guy said, I get it afterward. I'm supposed to love God with everything I can and my neighbor as that. I get it. And then Jesus said that you're on your way. He didn't say that you went to heaven. He said you're on your way. Because you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to live it. It's supposed to be how you live every day. You live every day, not judging others without looking at the log in your own eye. That when you judge another person, see yourself first. That's empathy. That's you acknowledging that even though that person did something bad, do I do similar things? And maybe I need to change myself. Because I can't really say that that person is a bad person if I'm doing what they're doing. That's it. Love everyone as though what they are saying is God, because perhaps God is trying to speak to you through that person. And you get that every time you sit there and listen to your favorite song. That movement that you feel when you listen to your favorite song is Matthew 23, verse 36 through 40, proving itself to you as being true. Every time you listen to someone on the right or the left who say something that you go, wow, that's wisdom, that's really smart, that's something I should do. That is Matthew 22, 36 through 40, proving itself. When you go to school and you learned your trade or you learned your thing, Matthew 22, 36 through 40, proving itself once again to be right. And God, again, telling you that's what's supposed to happen. It also tells you, yes, look honestly at history, because that is you removing the plank out of your eye. Because that's how you learn. Learning the experiences of others through history. Even though it says that you're bad, isn't you being bad. It's you pulling the plank out of your eye before, removing the thing on yours, because that is a statement to you as an individual, not for you to use against others. It is for you to use for you. Religion is not supposed to be a weapon that you use against others. It is something for you to pull into your own soul and make part of you. And if you can't do that, then you are not faithful, because you, just like Socrates said, an unexamined faith, an unexamined life is not worth having. Unexamined values, unexamined religion is not worth having. I truly try to live as much as I can by Matthew 22, 36 through 40, because it constantly proves itself right in my life. And it constantly proves itself right in your life. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe, and debate. And yes, Charlie Kirk was wrong about empathy being a fad. It is not a fad. It is a fundamental way of living. And anyone who tells you not to have empathy is in violation of the highest law of Christianity. You literally should go to those people and remind them of Matthew 22, 36 through 40. You cannot be a man of faith and not listen to others as though what they speak could potentially carry part of the wisdom of God himself, or herself, or itself. That's the way you're supposed to live life. And it's the only way into heaven. Because then you violated the highest law. Preaching against empathy is in itself against God. Because that is one of the talents you have. That is what taking the plank out of your eye is teaching you, to be empathetic. That is what the highest law of Matthew 22, 36 through 40 is teaching you. So stop and accept empathy as a fundamental part of your life. Because you cannot be Christian and not possess empathy. Because it literally is against the highest law of Christ and God. And if you don't have religion, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You developed your atheism because you learned other people, and that you determined that, okay, I don't need to be afraid of God. I don't need to have religion. In that sense, the philosophy behind Matthew's 23, 36 through 40 is what made you an atheist, is what made you decide to be an atheist. And you know what? Here's the funny thing. God might actually let you in. Because it's the highest law. He doesn't demand you to be him. He just wants you to love him with everything you have and love your neighbor as though that is God and you. Like, subscribe, and let's debate. Thank you.
But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
Which is the first commandment of all?
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might, and with all thy strength. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
Master, thou hast said the truth. There is one God, and none other but he. And to love him with all the heart, and with all the understanding, and with all the soul, and with all the strength, and to love his neighbor as himself, is more than all the whole burnt offerings and sacrifices.
Thou art not far from the kingdom of God.